Welcome back. It is a lovely Wednesday morning, Belize, and we're now moving into our show for this morning. As a matter of fact, getting started with our first segment and nutrition in elderly. Now, in with us, we have nutritionist Doris Sutherland. Doris, good morning.
Good morning to you
and welcome.
To everyone.
And I've got to say, you're looking lovely this morning.
Thank you.
You know, for the most part, it is said that, especially today's day and age and the millennials, we tend to forget the elderly. We tend to forget about their health. We tend to forget what they've taught us, and we tend to forget about the fact that we need to try to keep them healthy and their nutrition at top notch. What are we seeing at this particular point? Especially, we were in 2020, and are people being more cognizant of, especially for the elderly, and in their nutrition?
Yes, you would see that they are being more aware of their health. I work at Mercy Clinic where we see only elderly, and you would see them going to their monthly visit, that they would see nutrition as well. Yeah. So they do look into their health and try to follow the advices that we do give as well.
Now, there are particular challenges that comes with the elderly population. I think one of them usually is that they would be more prone to developing the non-communicable diseases, diabetes, hypertension. They just are in a bigger risk group at that time. Yeah. Are you finding that to be the case in the elderly patients that you see?
Yes, that is the case, specifically cardiovascular disease, which is #1 here in Belize. Yeah. Okay. But this has to do with not only happening to the elderly population, but it also has to do with your habits as a young adult. Yeah. Okay, so we do see those cases, and it also has to do with body changes. Okay, our body naturally starts to have different changes, like for example bone loss, slow metabolism, and then the way we process food is not the same as when we were younger. So there are changes that require nutritional attention in order for us to be able to correct them.
Excellent.
When we talk about the elderly, we often think of them as more traditional, people who would eat stuff that this is what they grew up on. And anybody could tell you, I grew up on this is what I'll continue to eat. Are we seeing this? Are we seeing them coming in to check on their nutritional fact?
Yes, yes. They would normally mention what they have, okay, and then according to their medical condition, then the advice would be, okay, you can't continue having it. But for most cases, things that they grow up eating, you know, like some vegetables, like their bread, they're making their own food, okay, those could still be part of their diet. Okay, it's other things that sometimes, for example, if they would purchase food or they would acquire other unhealthy habits, are things that we would need to change. But for the most part, they're doing well, okay? The only difference is that we do see some of them that have malnutrition, and then on the other hand, others that are overweight or obese. So that is when we would have to try to modify those changes.
You mentioned before that there's some aspects that will just be a part of the aging process itself. So in other words, even if you took great care of your health, eat healthy, maybe exercise, you may be able to delay things like diabetes or hypertension or the cardiovascular disease, but the others, like the bone density issue and just the metabolism slowing down as well, those are, would you say those are inevitable?
No, they are not inevitable. We can make them better. Okay, for example, and the elderly do experience problems with digesting foods. Okay, since their metabolism starts to go slow, they won't really process or absorb foods as efficient as when they were younger. So it's just a matter of correcting their deficiencies. There are many factors or reasons why they would not necessarily get the food that they should be having, and one of them has to do with the side effects of the medications that they take. Okay, we see a lot of people that would take more than 5 medications a day. They tend to have a loss of appetite. The taste of the food isn't the same as when they weren't having any medications.
Okay.
There's also factors like the poor dental health. Okay, you know, there's teeth loss, mouth sores or gum sores that make it difficult for them to consume regular foods. Also memory loss, like early onset dementia, Alzheimer's, they would sometimes forget to eat. Okay.
Oh, that's interesting.
Depression is also a factor. For example, especially those that live alone. Okay, they don't really care for their health as much as when they are together with a family, which would be pushing them a little bit more to be more health conscious.
Yeah, yeah. Now, looking at this particular demographic, let's be clear. What's your definition of elderly? What's the definition you're using today?
Yeah.
Okay. Normally, elderly is described as anybody over 65 years of age. Okay. That doesn't mean that they wouldn't be experiencing these factors early on, but however, everyone over 65 would be qualified as an elderly.
And in Belize, we see that people do live longer than many years ago, and that's for many reasons, just access to medication, healthcare. And so you're looking sometimes at, once you pass 65, you could do 2 decades after. But quality of life becomes so much more important. Is it enough to, at the age of 65, to start doing eating right and exercising and adding other things to your diet to kind of make the final decades of your life better? Like, is it too late, in other words?
No, it's never too late to start.
Okay.
If you're past 65 and you've never been to a doctor visit, you've never been to a nutritionist, or you've never changed your lifestyle, you've never exercised, you can still do those things. Okay, especially if you have high blood pressure and you want to try to control it, you still can. Okay, it's just a matter of starting early and knowing what to do in order to correct.
What would you say would be the daily nutritional intake for somebody 65 and older, being that we refer to them as, as the elderly? What would be the daily nutritional take for them?
Okay, in calories-wise?
In calories, food-wise.
In
what would be,
yes. Normally, you'd want them to achieve up to 75% of their daily intake, okay, or more. Okay, normally their daily intake would range between 2,000 to 2,500 calories, depending on their weight, okay, and then other conditions as well. But for those that don't get to achieve the 75% of the recommended intake, that's when we need to recur to supplements or to other things to help them get enough calories that they need.
Is there a rise in any kind of sickness within the elderly population? Are you seeing that? You work at the Mercy Clinic as well, or you put some time there. What are we seeing in terms of their health?
Okay, we see mostly people with heart disease, okay, high blood pressure, and high cholesterol. More than anything. And we know high cholesterol is also related to heart disease, so we see more patients like that. And of course, there's diabetes, malnutrition, okay, kidney disease, but not as much as heart disease.
Yeah.
Okay, so that would be number one.
Wow.
Now, before we start talking about the type of food that you do recommend, I want to ask, because what I is that a lot of times the elderly population are the ones who can be most easily duped into believing a lot of the marketing of, know, this herb does this supplement does that, and so they really buy into it. And I want to ask from your experience just how common it is, and also what are some of the things that tend to be very popular that can actually not be very good for your health?
Well, it's okay to consume some of the herbs. However, if you're having extreme medical conditions like kidney disease, liver failure, or something like that, then you don't really want to be consuming any type of herbs and so on.
Yeah.
But if you're only controlling your sugar, okay, there are many things that do work, okay, and then we see it within the patients that they prefer not to take the medications and to drink their, for example, okra water, or to drink the moringa every day. It does help. However, they shouldn't rely on this supplement or this herb to control it. Okay, you do need to take your medications if prescribed by the doctor, and you still need to eat healthy.
Yeah.
Okay, because then at some point, if you stop taking it, then it might go up again. Okay, so you have to be very careful with the things that you do consume. Always tell your doctor, because you don't want it to interact with any medication that you're taking as well.
Yeah.
Of course.
Okay, so
and can the supplements interact with medication? Because that's always something I think of. You know, you're taking what? Ginkgo, you're taking echinacea, you're taking there's so many supplements you can get. How much of these things can actually work along with, even if you're on cholesterol meds or high blood pressure meds?
Well, some of those supplements that you just mentioned are already banned from the FDA, so you're not supposed to really have them along with your medication.
Okay.
But if you're taking homemade herbs, those are more safe compared to the pill form, because the pills normally would bring a combination of other stuff that we don't even know how to pronounce or know the origin of those things. So normally, if you do it the natural way at home, it's a lot better than going towards supplement.
Towards the pills.
Okay.
Because the pills, they say everything, you know, they're for joints, they're for stomach, they're for memory. And I can imagine how much you'd want to buy into that as well.
What we're seeing here is a slide on the screen that says the modification of food textures. Now, can you break this down for us?
This is more for people who have loss of dentures, that can't chew, or maybe people that can't really swallow because of having swallowing difficulties. So then we'd have to try to modify the texture. Okay, we're seeing here a puree form. Okay, you could basically puree anything. Okay, chicken, eggs, okay, bread, rice, everything you can blend. Okay, in order for the person to be able to eat it. Okay, because sometimes when we have people that lose their dentures, sometimes we just give them mashed potatoes or just bananas because it's soft. But what they really need is to consume sources of protein, other sources of vegetables. So we can modify the texture, okay, maybe into liquid form in order for them to be able to
consume their proteins.
So consume their
so this is great for people who have dental issues, especially.
Or problem with difficulty swallowing.
Okay, okay. And just stepping back a bit, so when you get older, is it important to, because the number of meals you have and the time of your meals matter, if you're diabetic especially, but should they be doing smaller portions? Should they be doing the 3 big meals for a day? What's the typical recommendation?
It's normally the same, the 3 main meals, okay, and the 2 in between snacks I would recommend for younger adults. However, for them, we do need to focus on the quality of the food and try to get in specific nutrients because of the nutrient deficiencies that they tend to have. And that's where we'll try to include more omega-3s, more iron, more folic, more calcium, okay, which are things that are more important for them later in life than early on.
And calcium is critical because bone density loss is something that does come with age, which makes you more prone to breaking your bones. Talk to us about what your recommendation is, and especially for women, because I know after women go through menopause, they start absorbing less calcium in their bodies. So, I mean, is it a matter of you not being able to being more preventative, like getting the calcium in before menopause rather than after? What's the situation there?
Normally, it should be throughout the life. Yes, women do experience more risk of bone loss after menopause. However, the recommendation is still the same. Okay, we should still have at least 1 to 2 servings of a source of calcium and vitamin D for the day.
Together.
Okay, together. Okay, both of them need to work together in order to prevent osteoporosis, which is also common in the elderly. Okay.
And what's the recommendation for calcium? Because you know people will just take their pill.
Normally the recommendation is at least 2 glasses for the day. For example, of milk, or you could get plant-based sources of calcium. Let's say if you're a vegetarian and you don't drink any source of dairy, then you could get it from broccoli, from spinach, okay, from beans, okay, from plant sources.
So green foods have a good amount. Green leafy vegetables have a good amount of calcium. Like as much as milk, or how comparable?
No, almost the same. You just need to eat larger portions throughout the day.
Excellent. No, this is very. And talk to us about
2 servings of calcium, but you have to match it with vitamin D. What are some vitamin D sources?
Yes.
Vitamin D, we know we get it from the sunlight. Okay. The only difference in the elderly is that we know that their skin tends to be a little bit more thin. Okay, so when they're exposed to sunlight, they don't absorb as much vitamin D as we would. Okay, so normally you try to get vitamin D from fish, okay, also from the green vegetables, some cheeses, nuts, okay, also have vitamin D sources. Okay, so these are one of the 2 nutrients that we find that are very low in the elderly. So we want to make sure we get enough of these 2.
And if you have already been taking the supplements, I mean, what's your recommendation there? Because I think a lot of times we underestimate that people just find supplements to be easy and they don't pay attention to what they're eating.
Okay. Yes. Normally, the supplements should be recommended by your doctor or nutritionist, because sometimes you might be taking too much calcium than what your body needs. And this goes for any type of supplement, okay? What our body does not need, we pass through the urine, okay? So we want to be careful on the type of supplement we choose and ask if it's really necessary to have, okay? The ideal person to tell you this would be a nutritionist, because they could actually count the amount of calcium you're having for the day and evaluate the diet on all other types of nutrients and see what you would need to have.
Wow.
That's interesting.
Very.
So you may literally be flushing money down the toilet if you are buying supplements and you eat like broccoli or having milk, and you just didn't need that supplement in the first place.
You know, you're releasing that that broccoli. But you know, one of the things that I'm sure is very important. There are a lot of elderly people who you see them in their backyards. They're working. And some would tell you that, you know what, if that individual should stop doing that, they'll eventually get sick. Talk to us about the importance of being active and working out. Not necessarily working out, but exercising.
Yeah. Yes. Exercising is important. Normally, the recommendation is at least 3 times a week, a minimum of 30 minutes. Of course, if they would want to involve in more time, it's good. Okay, exercise is very important to restore muscle loss, okay, because as we get older, we tend to have more muscle loss than when we were younger. Yeah. Okay, it's also important for balance. Okay, they tend to lose their balance a little bit if they're not too active. Yeah. It's good for flexibility, okay, for strength. Okay, and of course to improve cardiovascular health and to try to maintain weight and so on.
So what would you consider to be exercise, especially for those? You did mention 30 minutes. So what would it be? Walking, if you could walk. What about for those who are in a wheelchair? How do they?
Okay, normally the use of light weights, okay, at least 3-pound weights or even 5-pound weights, if they could use those, are very good. Okay, weights should be used even for those that can walk or can go for a run or can go to do their normal exercise. They do need to lift some sort of weights. Okay, that is most importantly to restore muscle loss. Okay,
so you want to get in that 3 days a week, 30 minutes of activity. Yeah. So exercise is critical. I know social interaction is also critical, right?
Yes. Also, research shows that people that do exercise find it even better than taking a pill for depression. Okay, so maybe if you feel like you're too depressed, you're isolated, or you spend too much time alone, maybe exercise will give you that energy.
That's a great recommendation.
Yeah. And what about brain food? There are all these foods that you can eat that's supposed to help your mind. We know the elderly population is more at risk for dementia, and there is an expected amount of memory loss as well, I'm guessing. So talk to us about that. Is there anything that can be included in the diet to kind of prevent these types of issues?
Normally, brain-related foods would include foods that have, for example, antioxidants. Okay, antioxidants are foods that help to remove the excess waste or the free radicals that we get from the digestion of food. Okay, these free radicals can damage the cells in our body and also in the brain. So you get these from a lot of red vegetables and fruits, okay, grapes, berries, okay, lettuce, okay, a lot of greens, vegetables, orange, carrots, okay. Also, nuts are good for the brain, okay, as we can see, the walnuts, it would normally be shaped as like a brain, because that's the power food for the brain as well.
Excellent.
And so we have quite a bit here as well. So antioxidants are good for memory. Help to prevent heart disease and cancer, reduce inflammation, and slow down the aging process. What I like about your list, because usually we hear a lot of berries, and the berries aren't, I mean, they're so expensive. Because they're imported. But these are all stuff that we can get in Belize. But I don't know what black grapes are. But,
like the grapes as well.
Okay,
it could be like the regular grapes, but they're different colors, and the black tends to be more potential than the regular one. So
even green tea.
The green tea, the turmeric as well. Okay, the turmeric would be to reduce the inflammation. Okay, especially in those that are suffering from arthritis pain. Okay, so it does help too.
And things like apple, peppers, everybody cooks with onions and peppers in the Belize.
Green tea as well.
Yeah, tomatoes and carrots. These are all really accessible to anyone to put into their diet.
Things here. Lemon, very good, very good.
So that helps with the brain. What other parts of the body can we help with through the nutrition?
The nutrition. Yes, it's very important to mention the fiber intake. Okay, because as we mentioned, the metabolism slows down when we get older, so our digestion as well. Okay, when our digestion slows down, we tend to be more constipated. Okay, and if you're not having enough fiber, then you're increasing the risk of constipation. Okay, we also find that in the elderly, they tend to have diverticular disease. Okay, diverticulosis. Diverticulosis. A result from not having enough fiber in the food. Okay, this can cause inflammation in the intestines and severe pain. Okay, so you do need to try to include fiber every day along with water.
And good sources of fiber?
Okay, whole grains, beans, all fruits and vegetables have fiber as well.
Oats?
Oats.
Yeah, oatmeal, But that's also good for cholesterol as well.
For cholesterol and also to control the heart.
Cool.
And the sugar.
Good, so we can get that in. And water.
Yes. The older we get, the less water we drink. Okay, because our ability to conserve water becomes less. So we don't get thirsty, okay? And then it also affects the brain, meaning that your brain doesn't remind you all the time that you need to drink water, okay? And we see it at the clinic. I don't remember to drink water. I could only drink 1 glass, okay? And this can lead to severe deficiencies later on, okay? Not drinking enough water could lead you to forgetting things, okay, to cause confusion. It could also lead to dehydration, okay, dehydration in the body cells, and also problems with your kidneys if you're not drinking enough water to eliminate the excess toxins.
And the elderly are usually more at risk for heat-related diseases too, especially if they're not drinking enough water. Because they don't process heat the same way. So that's fascinating. So that you'd actually no longer have the sense of thirst, that we'd have now, like we would have when you get older. So you have to just settle. Is it the same 8 glasses that you want to get in?
The minimum 8 glasses. Okay, for most people, they'd have to have their jug of water right next to them, okay, whether they're sitting on the couch or near the bed, just as to remember to drink water, okay, or maybe you can remind your relative, okay, it's time for a glass of water, or maybe try to motivate them to have 2 glasses with every meal, but it is something that we see that they don't always consume.
Wow.
All right, and what about, because John said it earlier, you know, I think after a certain age, the elderly just kind of believe that, you know, I've been doing this my whole life, I'm fine. So don't tell me to switch to wheat, or don't tell me to eat, I can't eat rice. Talk to me about how you work, because you know, Mercy Clinic is the only, as far as I know, only elderly clinic. It's the only geriatric care that's available for only older people. So how do you convince them to make dietary changes when just naturally they feel that they've survived on it so long it's still fine?
Yes, it's very difficult at the beginning. You have to teach them about the portions, about the benefits of each food group, and then try to have them change their meals slowly. Okay, so maybe if for breakfast they're already used to having this certain portion or this certain type of food, then try to modify it every other day. Okay, you find it that it does work. Okay, they do try to modify their meals, or they try to combine it with other things that are more healthy for them in order for them to be able to make these changes.
Excellent. Wow.
And just based on practice, what are some of the common things you find that you have to be correcting in terms of the way elderly people would eat?
Okay. It mostly has to do with their timing of eating, okay? Because we see that sometimes they're used to not eating in the evening or not having any fruits for the day. I see also that their protein intake is very low, okay? Sometimes the older we get, we don't want to eat any chicken, it already tastes the same, okay, or we're not getting protein from other plant sources as well. So normally we do see a big number of patients with protein deficiency, okay, where they would eat mostly rice, which is okay, but then we're having larger portions of rice instead of including or combining it with protein as well.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
These are some really ideal
I know.
situation here.
I know. And you know what the thing is, we all have our loved ones at home. Our parents age, and you wanna take care of them, and it's just learning how you have to differentiate what their needs are versus ours. How important is it that the rest of the family is on board? So if you have an elderly father and you're trying to get them to eat healthier, but the rest of us are having fried chicken, like how important is it that you have that?
Yes, it's very important that when they make the changes, that they do it as a family, because you can't have someone eat something different than what you are having, okay, especially if it's someone that's already used to consuming the same meals for the entire life. So you do need to make the changes as a family, okay. For some of them it's difficult for them to prepare their own meals, so in this case they would have a benefit towards their health because they would need to eat the meals that you prepare. Okay, so it does need to be done as a whole in order to encourage them to consume the meals.
I think being wholesome is...
I have another good one. So I've heard this one from personal experience. So, parents don't necessarily like to be parented by their children.
That's true.
And I think it also has a psychological effect as well. So when they feel constrained with a child telling them, or their child, I should say, telling them, you can only have one, or this is all you can have, or you can no longer eat X, Y, and Z. They really rebel against it, and it becomes more difficult to keep them on their diet for health reasons. What's your advice when I'm sure you have children who accompany their parents and are like, see, I tell you, mom, you don't eat that. How do you work with them to help so that you can implement the changes that are necessary for good health?
Okay, in these cases, if the person is not accepting the meal, then maybe something is wrong. You could try to modify the taste, okay? You could try to prepare it differently, or try to do it another form. Or maybe the person is not accepting it because he knows that you'll be hungry in the next 30 minutes or 1 hour. So maybe you're not giving them enough. Okay, so it's just a matter of knowing exactly how you are with them. Okay, the best thing to do is for a nutritionist to analyze their diet and see, okay, he can have extra, don't restrict him to just one loaf or just to one glass. Okay, so you do need to see why the person is not accepting the meal. Okay, maybe he can't swallow it, maybe he can't chew it. Okay, so we have to find the reason, or maybe how it tastes. Okay.
And the last one, what about supplements like the Ensure, the drinks that people have?
Those are safe to have. However, you want to make sure that you're only drinking it because you can't meet your daily nutritional requirements. Okay, as we said, normally it should be 75%, but if you're not meeting your requirements, then you may need to drink an Ensure or a Glucerna or any other type of supplement. However, your doctor needs to tell you if you can have it, okay? Because sometimes you would drink Ensure throughout the day or more than we should, and these things have calories.
I was gonna say,
yes, they do have calories.
I mean, they also are very high in calories because it's almost like a meal replacement. So you don't want to be having, I mean, is it okay to have Ensure and still be doing your 3 meals a day and snacks?
No. Normally it is a meal replacement. Like if you don't have time for breakfast, then you do the Ensure. Or if you don't feel hungry in the night or you don't have time to prepare it, then you have the Ensure again. Okay, but you don't have it with the meal and the drink.
People look at Ensure as something just for the elderly, is it?
No. It can be given to the younger population. However, if you meet your daily requirements, you don't have to drink it. Okay. Normally, it's for people that can't chew, that can't swallow properly, or people that are feeding from a feeding tube that we would normally give the Ensure as well.
Okay.
Now we know.
All right. And just two more things. You said two more items that you want to include in your diet: iron and vitamin B12.
What are those? Yeah.
Yeah.
How do we get those?
Yeah, how do we get those?
Normally, we could get those from green vegetables as well. B12, you can only get it from red meat, from fish, or from chicken. Okay, so if you're a vegetarian or following a plant-based diet, you do need to take a B12 supplement. Okay, but if you're not getting enough intake of any of these foods, okay, or if your blood levels are too low, then your doctor would tell you if you do need to take extra iron or extra B12. Okay, normally in the elderly, these are one of the two that are most given to patients. Okay, the other ones are covered with their meals, but iron and B12 tend to be a lot low.
All right.
I can imagine how your patients at Mercer Clinic just love you.
I know, right?
Yeah. But, you know, thank you for coming in.
Thank you so very much.
I think we do neglect sometimes to talk about the elderly population and recognizing the needs. And, you know, there are a lot of families who want the best for their aging loved one. And so now we know how to help them eat better.
Yeah, we always go on the on that path of remembering afterwards. So this is a great opportunity to keep them around for a longer time. Help them out, and let's make sure that they're provided with. Doris, once again, thank you so very much. It was an excellent time with you.
Thank you too.
Thank you too. All right, we're going to go ahead and take a break, and when we come back, we are going to be featuring Commonwealth Rhodes Scholar, Abby Godoy. So please stay tuned.